Hey everybody, it's Miss Peachy from WCA Earth Science. I am making a little video tutorial because you have your first portfolio, Math Rocks, the Earth, Graphs, which is your first Earth and Space Science portfolio. And in this portfolio, you are going to be given some data sets and you have to decide which type of graph is the appropriate graph to use for these data sets. So let's just kind of go through the different types of graphs first. First, you have a pie chart, which is also known as a circle graph. This type of graph, as you can see here, is going to illustrate like a whole group that's broken down into different parts of a whole. So in this case, these are your monthly expenses, and this is the percentage that you spend on each of these different expenditures per month. So when you add these all up, it forms 100%. Then you see a line graph. A line graph can be used to show how something changes over time. It's not just change over time, however, sometimes you just look at how one variable affects another, and we want to kind of look at data points. So sometimes we're looking at, how the pH changes in different temperatures, for example, might be a line graph that we might use in science. But you have two different axes, the x-axis and the y-axis. And for this particular example, we're going to say change over time. And then a bar graph is used to compare averages. So we're going to look at comparing different categories here: swimming, soccer, football, baseball, and basketball, and the number of people that play each sport. So we're just comparing groups, right? And finally, we have a scatter plot. And a scatter plot is a graph of points that show relationships between two sets of data. It's similar to a line graph, except for we have multiple data sets, and we're going to kind of see if a trend exists here with the scatter plot. Time to run versus amount of time spent training. And in this case, you might want to look at if there's some sort of a data trend. Okay, so these are what we're looking at here with what type of graph and which situation you may use to represent the data from that graph. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold today. So if you go onto the second page, it's going to give you some data sets. It says, now you're going to determine the different types of graphs. Let's make some decisions when concerning how to use them. Look at the data below and determine the best graph for each set of data. Then choose one of the data sets and draw the graph. So here you have the most common elements found in the Earth's crust. Here you have, you want to decide if there's a relationship between living close to San Andreas Fault and the number of earthquakes you feel per year. Here you see locations and numbers of hurricanes. And here you're going to see, you look at in certain years the size of the ozone hole and how it's changed from year to year. So change over time in this case. Now it says pick one of the data points from either questions 3 or 4 above and create a graph. I'm actually going to ask you, I'm going to allow you to pick any one of the data sets. You don't have to do 3 or 4. You can do 1, 2, 3, or 4. That is fine. So you're basically going to choose one of them and you're going to make a graph of it. The other ones, you're just going to tell me which type of graph you would use. So if you don't choose number 1, you just tell me which type of graph is the most appropriate. So that's the question you're going to answer. Which type of graph is most appropriate? For number 2, which type of graph is most appropriate? For number 3, which type of graph is most appropriate? And for number 4, which type of graph is most appropriate? And once you've decided on which one you want to use, then, or which one's most appropriate for each, then pick one of them and create a graph. Now, KidZone is a really cool website where you can use this to make a graph. I've actually used this before. They even put it as an example in here. And you can pick whatever type of graph you want. I go back here to the home page, create a graph. You can pick, if you want a line graph, a pie graph, a bar graph. If you need a scatter point or scatter plot, just use the line graph one. The line graph one is really, they're very similar. A line graph and a scatter plot are very much the same. So if you need to graph scatter plot, then just choose line in this situation because it still shows change over time. When you do this, if I click on bar, for example, you're going to choose which way you want it. Typically, vertical is how we do it. Rectangle, I mean, you can choose the different appearances, but the data is important. Choose a title. Label your X and Y axis. And then you need to figure out how many items you need. If you have more than 5 items that you're going to put, then you need to select this drop down box and choose a different number, right? So more than one. So this is what's going to be labeled basically on your horizontal axis here. So let's do an example. I don't know. Let's do the one that they did in the example. Sports people prefer. The x-axis label is sports. The y-axis label is number of people. The source, I don't know. We just leave that one blank. So item number 1, we'll say football. The value here, let's say 10 people prefer football. Let's say soccer. And only 2 people like soccer. It's not very popular in the US. And then let's say basketball. 4 people like basketball because I can't type. Let's say hockey. We'll put 3 up on here. And baseball. And we're going to put 9 in this situation. Okay. And this is kind of where you put the minimum and maximum values on your graph. So our minimum value is 0. Our maximum value is going to be 10 because, our range is from up to 10. And I want 0 to be the bottom part of my graph. Okay. So the preview section, what does this graph look like at this moment? And you can kind of see that this is what the graph would look like. And that's kind of what I would want it. We need to put our little label there, right? Our little label. So let's make that label here. Sure, why not? Show the labels. Okay, good. And then what you can do is you can actually print or save this one. You can, I mean, I've never done this part before, but I guess you can, save this one. Probably the easiest thing for you guys to do is just to take a screenshot of this. Like do Alt print screen or take a screenshot of that. And then go into a Microsoft Word document or Google Doc if you don't have Word Doc. And then just do the paste this graph in there. And it's beautiful. So it's got a picture of me. So I'm going to double click on this and I'm going to go to crop. I'm going to crop this one a little bit because I just want the graph. I don't want me on there. Okay. So if you can do that. That's fine. Then I should be able to read it okay. All right. So if you guys can do that, that's an acceptable, solution, low-tech solution. If you can't get it saved, or you can download it and then save the image and paste it in there, but it requires you to email it to yourself and stuff like that. So that's just, that's a bar graph. You can do the same thing for your line graphs and your circle graphs. Okay. Let me go back to that website real quick. Okay. So if I do, a line graph, it's you just again go to data, title x-axis, y-axis. Remember that the thing you're measuring is on the x-axis and the y-axis is time, right? So this is going to be always written as xy. So this is your x value, this is your y value. Okay, so x and y change over time. Okay, let's do an example. Let's do temperature versus time. So temp, Celsius, time, seconds. So let's see what let's say that x. So that would be time. So at 0 seconds, it was 30 degrees. At 10 seconds, it was 40 degrees. At 20 seconds, it was 50 degrees. 30 seconds, 60 degrees. I'm just making stuff up, right? 40, 40 seconds, it was 70 degrees. Let's preview how that looks. Hope I did it right. Nope, we did it backwards. Let's go back to the data set. It's weird. Oh, that's my bad. Time, temp. I did it right. I just put the labels on the wrong axis. Temperature always goes on the y-axis, time on the x-axis. Yeah. All right, so let's preview that. There you go. Preview Miss Peachy. Let's reload it. Yeah, what's going on? Did I do it wrong again? This is the cold, ladies and gents. All right. How about we just put update because I forgot to update it. All right. All right. Now let's try it. Preview. Beautiful. That's what we want. Okay. So again, you would download this one. So if you, I suppose I should just go through a circle graph real quick for you guys. So a circle graph. Go to data. Title. I don't know. Let's see. How would I figure this one out? Time spent each day. And then I say sleeping. I spend about, I don't know, 25%, 0.25. These are always going to be fractions, so you have to do like decimals here. Eating. I don't know how much time I spend eating. Maybe, I don't know. We're just going to make stuff up, guys, because I don't want to have this to be too hard with my math. Working. Too much time. 0.25. So now I'm at 50, 60% of my day, right? How about recreation? 0.4. I'm just going to do that because I think that adds up. So 35 and then 60. Okay. This all got to add up to 100% here. I think that's how you do it. We're going to check it out and see if it works. All right. Cool. So it all adds up to 100%. My question is, if instead of doing that, if I said 8 hours, eating was 1 hour, working is 8 hours, and recreation is, I don't know, 16, 17, so 7 hours. Would that also give me a pie? Aw, man, go back. I gotta update. Yeah, so it looks like you don't have to convert that to percent. That's actually good for you guys. The only thing you have to do is actually just enter in the numbers there. It doesn't have to, it'll convert it for you to make you a proper pie chart. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. You got to make your graph, pie, circle, or line. Make sure to identify the ones you don't graph, whether they're supposed to be pie, circle, line, or, scatter plot. Spoiler, scatter plot and line. I'll probably give you credit for either or. And then on that piece of paper or on that Word document, copy and paste your graph along with the answers to the other graphs. Save it and then put it in the Dropbox. And that is it. If you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a fabulous day.